Hello, ladies and gents. It is Sunday, the 17th of October, and it's Bonafide Conservatism. I come back with a brand new edition at Proclamation News and Gatherence. It is the prodigious, prominent Professor Johnson. I'm here and I'm here to stay, ladies and gents. I'm trying to give people some good guidance to get involved with politics. People don't get involved. Have your opinion. Don't when you speak and people don't hear your opinion. You want to get your voice heard. You want to get people supporting you. You can't have some magnificent ideas, but people don't understand. People don't want to listen. People don't want to try and proact to make this world a better place. We've got climate change. We've got knife crime. I mean, how can we stop it all? How can we put a stop to knife crime? I'll come out of loads of different ideas. But if you're not gonna try and exercise these ideas, how are we going to make adaptations? How are we going to make an evaluation to success to stop people using knives? Stop selling them on shop floors. How many times do we have to say this? But anyway, we've got a quick Christianity speech before we move on with UK roads. We're talking about climate change, how climate change is affecting all of us. Use of natural resources, all kind of stuff. We've got also the most deprived country in the world. Matt Hancock is COP26. Anyway, day 5, Abraham. Genesis 15. Look up at the sky, count the stars. So shall your offsprings be. Abraham was a man who kept to the spirit of the law before there was any letter of the law to guide him. He predated Moses and the law that was received in writing at Sinai. But Abraham still managed to please God by believing and trusting him. Just imagine that. Abraham believed in God with no name and whom none of his friends knew about. Does that mean keeping the law is not important? No. And if we believe and trust in Jesus sincerely, then we desire to keep the law in our daily life should follow. The law is made not for the righteousness, but for the lawbreakers and rebels. Paul wrote to Timothy, does this mean that if everyone were a real Christian, we wouldn't need speed cameras, traffic wardens, or VAT inspectors? Now there's a thought. There is no doubt that an agreement between Christians shouldn't need the power of any government's legal system to enforce it, but sadly that isn't always the case. So as believers, are we keeping to the spirit of the law? Put it another way, the law didn't exist. Would you be seen as righteous because the way you live life? Quoting proof text is not enough. We need to be living the word, not just learning it. Abraham set as an example that is definitely worth considering today. Don't you sit and wonder sometimes? I mean, you could be a good citizen all your life. You know, you've been going in and out of church since the day you could walk. You might have been to Church of England primary school, such as I myself. What is right and wrong? I mean, us law-abiding citizens know what's right, but people that don't live by the law think that's the way of life. They think that's the way of life. You might live purely of the aesthetics of life, but then you got the other 75% of the population living their life by their means, like rather doing things in small doses. They're taking things overindulging, alcoholism, eating, taking narcotics, not looking after their well-being. It's mad, isn't it? It's absolutely, it's horrific. It's ludicrous, but to them, that's the way of life. To us, living life of the ascetic of life, the highs and lows, is normality. But to the other 75% of the world, or UK if you want, are living by the word of sin. Anyway, before we enter UK roads, and that, again, do not enter your vehicle under sleep deprivation. You're a lorry driver. You haven't had enough taco break. You haven't had sleep on your break. You've been driving 12 hours. You've got to go back on the road for another 6 to head home. you need to have that sufficient sleep before you get back at the wheel, don't you? Make sure you have sufficient sleep. Do not enter your vehicle under sleep deprivation of an influence of alcohol and narcotics. If you have a drink on a Friday, you don't get in the car and drive home the next morning if you've been up till 3 o'clock driving. It takes 24 hours to get out of your system alcohol. So, you need to think theoretically for the safety of not just yourself, the others. And you're putting, if you're a father or a mother, you're putting your children's life at risk if they're at home. You could kill yourself. They're not going to be around to support your children. What sort of parent are you being? What sort of parent are you going to be? And took your children's thought into consideration? Absolutely not. Make sure your car's MOT'd, taxed, and insured. Make sure you got a driving license. Sounds stupid, but we know it happens. We know it happens. Check your engine oil, water coolant tank. Make sure it's topped up to maximum level. Check your PSI limits, making sure your tyres are got enough air pressure. Make sure your tyres are not bowled. Check for further road signs. Police safety actions. If they put their hand up to stop, pull over. There's obviously something coming up on your vehicle, or they may be just checking your speed limit. You may be doing a couple of miles per hour over the speed limit. The speed officer's going to pull you over, perhaps. Just go, slow down. We're not going to give you a ticket today because you're only doing 2 miles over your limit. Just ease off the pedal. Pull over. Just pull over. Check your centre mirror, wing mirror before acting into safe, sufficient direction towards making sure motorcycles or cars, other vehicles, not overtaking. It's little things, making sure pedestrians are fully crossed the zebra crossing as you emerge onto the zebra crossing. Anyway, let's look at the incidents in the UK roads, day in, day out. South east of England, Clacton-on-Sea, West Avenue, road closed, emergency repairs, traffic open well. Due to emergency sinkholes, repairs on West Avenue between Jackson Road and Station Road. Traffic is open wells. Closed since Wednesday, 3:15 p.m. More infrastructure. Sinkhole repairs. Milton Keynes near Cambridge. Congestion to heavy traffic due to road closures from Cambridge Festival of running on roads around Cambridge. Congestion A603 and along Chesterton Road. And the marathon is taking place today through Cambridge, Barton and Grantchester. 11 p.m. it was reported. Near Watford. Oh, hang on. I've got to zoom in a little bit. We've got an incident in Chestnut. A10. Queuing traffic on the A10, Great Cambridge Road at A1055, Ballsmore Lane, congestion to Ballsmore Lane and down Hertford Road in the construction area due to the weekend closure of the A10. It was reported at 11:10. Embarking A406, queuing traffic A406, North Circular, southbound before A13, Newham Way, Beckton roundabout, reported at 11 a.m. Eastwood Road North, road closure, police incident, traffic open well. Police incident on East Road North both ways between the Woodcutters Arms pub and Oakwood Avenue. Traffic is open well. The road is still cordoned off following a serious incident which happened outside the Belfast Church at lunchtime. This is reported at 1:05. As we're moving on to climate change, there's also, when we talk about global climate change, let's talk about reproduction. People, not recycling. People not recycling. Industrialisation pollution. Before, we're going to get into the context side of things, but I like to speak off the cuff. Talk about global climate. Spilling of diesel as you fill up the car. Spilling of petrol as you fill up the car. All things that could spoil climate change. Fly tipping. All the pollution that is caused by humanities. Also, the building of houses, the footings, concrete, contaminating the floor. The cement is contaminating the floor. Things that are going to cause, climate change. Also, when you're concreting footings, it's not, it's we need the water to flow, don't we? As we read the Bible, Jesus put water on earth to let it flow, and things like footings and dams or whatever get in the way of that flow, the flow of water, the natural habitat. Look at wildlife, people fox hunting, things like that. All these things that are put there to generate humanity. Humanity's taking an absolute disadvantage of it all. We need animals to feed off, such as we've got cows, beef, we've got chickens, turkey, we've got lamb. But overpopulation, how can we compensate for everybody? Keep letting all these people in because their country's in a war-torn area, or there's fires as well, or floods all over the globe. We're having to put people into safety. When's there going to be a time where enough is enough? I know it's lost a lot of population through COVID, but what about reproduction of our own people that are already here? I thought that's what Brexit was all about. But anyway, global warming redirects. Climate change include the global warming and its large-scale impacts on weather patterns. There have been previous periods of climate change, but the current changes are more rapid than any known events in Earth's history. I don't know if you've noticed, like now it's October. It's freezing, absolute freezing. The summer wasn't too bad, but October is not quite winter yet, it's freezing. The main cause is the emission of greenhouse gases, mostly carbon dioxide and methane. I mean, I used to do piling, underpinning. You can smell the methane in the clay as you go down. Go dig 2 meters, but when you're doing piling and stuff, you go for like 18 meters down in the ground with drilling machines, and you can smell the methane gas come out. Burning fossil fuels for energy use creates most of these emissions. Agriculture, steel making, carbon production, and forest loss are also significant sources. Temperature rise is affected by climate feedbacks as well, such as loss of sunlight reflecting sun cover and release of carbon dioxide from drought-stricken forests. Collectively, these amplify global warming. On the land, where temperatures has risen about twice as fast as the global average, deserts are expanding and the heat waves and wildfires are becoming more common. Temperatures rise is also amplified in the Arctic, where it has contributed to melting permafrost, glacier retreat, and a sea ice loss. Warmer temperatures are increasing rates of evaporation, causing more intense storms and weather extremes. Impacts on ecosystems include relocation of extinction. We're going to come back to that warm temperatures or increasing rates of evaporation in a minute. Just think of the globalization of coffee, and that's what we're going to get back to, and that's a subject and the country we'll be talking about. Ecosystems include the relocation of extinction of many species as the environment changes, most immediately in coral reefs, mountains, and the Arctic. Climate change threatens people and with food insecurity, water scarcity, flooding, infectious diseases, extreme heat, economic losses, and displacement. These human impacts have led the World Health Organization to call climate change the greatest threat to global health in the 21st century. Even if the efforts to minimize future warming are successful, some effects will continue for centuries, include the rise in sea levels, rise in ocean temperatures, and ocean acidification. Many of these impacts are already felt at the current level of warming, which is about 1.2 Celsius, 2.3 Fahrenheit. The government's panel of climate change, which is the IPCC, has projected significant increases in these impacts as warming continues to 1.5 C, 2.7 Fahrenheit and beyond. Additional warning increases the risk of triggering critical threshold called tipping points. Responding to these impacts involves both mitigation and adaptation. Mitigation. Limiting climate change consists of reducing greenhouse and gas emissions and remove them from the atmosphere. Methods to achieve this include the development and deployment of coastline protection, better disaster management, and the development of more resistant crops. Adaptation alone can avert to the risk of severe, widespread and irreversible impacts. Under the 2015 Paris Agreement, nations collectively agreed to warming well under 2 Celsius, 3.6 Fahrenheit, through mitigation efforts. However, with pledges made under the agreement, global warming would still reach about 2.6 Celsius by the end of the century, limiting warming to 1.5 Celsius, which would require halving emissions by 2030 and achieving net zero emissions by 2050. That's what's all going on in government at the moment, isn't it? COP26. Let me just talk about one thing that I was going to come into. Yes, climate change threatens people from food insecurity, and warmer temperatures are increasing rates of evaporation, causing more intense storms and weather extremes. Going back to like some of the most deprived countries in the world, we know Haiti is one of them, but we're not talking about Haiti right now. We're talking about Vietnam and Ethiopia. As I've been part of my study, and I've listened to the audio book and I've seen the video. In Ethiopia and Vietnam, Vietnamese, they harvest coffee. That's one of their main incomes. And I've done the maths with everyone listening on. I've got a podcast, I've got a Castbox, I'm on YouTube. And I've had this discussion with many people listening in. The coffee, in a kilo of coffee beans, imagine how many coffee beans you can fit in a kilo bag. Honestly, I don't know, but all I know is 1 kilo bag in the UK or America, where the barristers get and use it for their coffee makeup, they can get 80 cups of coffee out of a kilo bag. But what Ethiopia or Vietnamese sell a kilo of coffee beans for is $1, which is about 25 pence in UK. $1 is about 25 pence in the UK. 25 pence for a kilo of coffee beans. And in the kilo of them coffee beans, when it comes over here, you can make 80 cups of coffee. 80 cups of coffee out of a kilo. And as a barrister would sell their coffee £3 maybe for a regular. If you go on Costa, you're talking about £3.25 for a regular, and large is probably £4 something. So you can do 80 times 3, 80, 160, 240, isn't it? 240. Yeah, so £240. £240. £240, they can buy 480 more kilo bags. 480 more kilo bags after they sold that 1 kilo. So you think like Ethiopia, Vietnam, they must be going absolute. No wonder their farms are their farms that go under, because there's not enough turnaround with their money, their income they're making. Where's the help in inequalities throughout the world? There isn't. They talk about equalities. They support equalities throughout the world globally. We're pumping, and then they're pumping money into Beijing or China, where you know what it is in this world. What it is. I've always said, money always goes to money. Money will always go to money. It won't go to intelligence. Money will not go into intelligence. It doesn't matter how clever you are, doesn't matter how bright you are, doesn't matter how smart you are. Money will never go to intelligence. You've really got to try hard in this world to get a name for yourself, really, and I mean that as well. I mean, I've been here, how long have I been sitting here? On Castbox, trying to make a name for myself, trying to get people to support me, trying to get myself a seat within the Conservative Club. I talk more sense and sense. So you can even do a research on how much Vietnam or if you ever get paid for a kilo bag. I'm studying it at the moment. There's a lot of things I'm investigating social world, like capital gain and things like that, with, you know, capital gain throughout the these countries. They've got a lot of globalization going on, like China, place in China, America as well. What do they think the capital gain things they get done through capital gain? Remember, Trump was trying to build that wall. Is that capital gain or just a capital? To me, that's a capital waste. He's trying to make out he wants to make his Americans safe, but a bit ludicrous if you ask me. Anyway, I'm going to quickly have a short break, and actually I'll quickly do this news and we're going to have a quick break. Essex teacher sent Snapchat photos of himself in underwear to students. He's been banned from teaching ever again. Joe Osborne was a humanities teacher at Harrods and Dovercourt High School. Nice. My kids go to this school. An Essex teacher sent pictures of himself in underwear while in bed to a pupil, and also had an inappropriate conversation about condoms with another. Joe Osborne had been banned forever returning to the classroom following his misconduct while employed at Harrods and Dovercourt High School in Hall Lane. Nice. He worked there as a humanities teacher in July 2014 until he was sacked in June 2017. Now, a conduct panel at a teaching regulation agency, TRA, has ruled out he must never teach again, although Osborne has a right to appeal the decision. The panel found that during the 2016-17 academic year, he had discussion with one pupil about condoms, then sent pictures of himself in his underwear to two pupils while having inappropriate communication with one of them. The panel also found that whilst on a school trip last year, he had invited a group of pupils into his bedroom to play a game of cards against humanity, and had a post-it note on his desk containing sexual references to at least one of the other pupil. Osborne's behaviour came to light after concerns were raised by social media in 2017, with students then being interviewed. While the police decided to take no further action due to insufficient evidence, a disciplinary process was carried out at Osborne was dismissed on June the 12th, 2017, and the school referred the case to a TRA. During the disciplinary process, Osborne said sending pictures had been a mistake, but the panel found the explanation under-persuasive and that he knew what he was doing. For the incident on a school trip, the panel said Osborne acted in a clandestine manner to get the children into his bedroom. It added, given its nature, the panel viewed the game, Cards Against Humanity, to be inappropriate for Mr. Osborne to be playing with pupils in his care. The panel chose to give Osborne a permanent probation order, meaning he cannot teach in any school, sixth form, children's home, or any other youth accommodation in England. The panel concluded the panel considered Mr. Osborne's action to be extremely serious in the absence of any evidence that Mr. Osborne fully understood his action to be wrong and potentially dangerous, and the fact he'd given no indication that he would change his behaviour to the panel decided that a preview period would not be appropriate. As such, the panel decided that it would be proportionate in all circumstances for the probation order to be recommended without provisions for a review period. Harrods and Dovercourt School has been run by Stigma Trust the 1st of June 2017. The spokesman for the trust said the Stigma Trust and all the other member schools take any allegation of professional misconduct with the utmost seriousness. We acknowledge the findings of the Teaching Regulation Agency. We're reading text on the media by a journalist. Is it qualitative evidence what they're telling us? We can only relay to certain degrees. Children's lives at risk. A lot of people are going to jump to the bullet and write this man solely off all over social media. We don't know what evidence they got or what evidence this journalist is writing against. By all means, when you read about children, it makes your stomach boil, makes you think, what a disgusting man. But we don't actually know the real protocol, what actually happened, do we? We all read in this text, I can write a story about you or your ex-missus or your mum, your dad, whatever. But what's to say it's fully litigated at its full truth? Possibly some of the truth, yeah, absolutely. But why would you have kids back at your place anyway? That is true. If that story's true, 100% true. Propaganda. Let's not get mixed up all the time. It's not get mixed up all the time, but at the same time, you've got to take it in a seriousness. I mean, it's child's life. Child's life, absolutely. Innocent children, you jump straight on it. Same as me. I've got kids that go to that school as well, so I wouldn't be happy.
Well, I think all our hearts are full of shock and sadness today and to the loss of Sir David Amos MP, who was killed in his constituency surgery in a church after almost 40 years of continuous service to the people of Essex and the whole of the United Kingdom. And the reason I think people are so shocked and saddened is, above all, he was one of the kindest, nicest, most gentle people in politics. And he also had an outstanding record of passing laws to help the most vulnerable, whether the people who are suffering from endometriosis, passing laws to end cruelty to animals, or doing a huge amount to reduce the fuel poverty suffered by people up and down the country. David was a man who believed passionately in this country and in its future. And we've lost today a fine public servant and a much loved friend and colleague. And our thoughts are very much today with his wife, his children, and his family.
There was a sense of shock within the colleagues heard about this. This is not news, of course, that anyone would be expecting to hear on Friday after constituency surgery, and somebody who, of course, has been, as you say, a Conservative MP for a very long time, nearly 40 years. What was your reaction to you and your colleagues when that news filtered through?
I think everybody was deeply shocked and heart-stricken, and our thoughts, as I say, are very much with his family, with his wife, with his children, and for the rest, I mean, we must really leave the police to get on with their investigation. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Also, the Speaker of the House of Commons has said today, of course, he's shocked, saddened, distressed too, but he says this also raises the issue of MP safety. Now, we've had two MPs from the two main parties of Westminster killed in the space of 5 years. This is a problem, isn't it? An urgent problem that needs to be debated to protect our democracy.
I think what we need to do now is let the police get on with their investigation, and I'm sure that all those issues will be considered in the proper time. But I think this is a moment for us to think of Sir David, his wife, his family, and our thoughts are very much with them. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well,
A Methodist church hall along a quiet street in Essex. Friday, the scene of a constituency surgery for MP Sir David Amos. The chance for the public to talk to him face to face. The chance today for a lone attacker to stab and kill the Member of Parliament.
He was always helping other people, charities, veterans, everyone, youth. He worked for everyone, including refugees from other countries. He was there supporting if they had a problem. I remember him only a few weeks ago trying to get a passport sorted out for someone. Here it is, because he worked so hard, is someone's taken his life.
David, he was a brilliant man, so nice and kind and loving person. It's such a very sad we lost him. We didn't find any man like him. He was very nice and kind.
This afternoon, the Prime Minister led tributes to Sir David, the man who served his community for just shy of 4 decades.
Above all, he was one of the kindest, nicest, most gentle people in politics. And we've lost today a fine public servant and a much loved friend and colleague. And our thoughts are very much today with his wife, his children, and his family.
Informed by his faith, Sir David had a profound sense of public duty, and he was highly respected and much liked across the Houses of Parliament on all sides.
Essex police say there were calls for reports of a stabbing at 12:05. When officers got here, they arrested a man. They also say they recovered a knife at the scene and that they are not looking for anyone else in connection with this attack. An air ambulance was also dispatched, but medics continued battling to save Sir David's wife inside the hall, a battle they ultimately weren't to win. 3 hours later, the police confirmed the 69-year-old had died of his wounds.
It will be for investigators to determine whether or not this is a terrorist incident. But as always, they will keep an open mind.
Sir David Amess was a political veteran, first elected MP in 1983. But it was the 1992 general election in which his Basildon win was totemic. An early signal that John Major was on course for an unexpected victory.
Socialism in Basildon and in Britain tonight has been defeated.
In 1997, Sir David ran and won the Southend West seat, where he remained MP until his death. A Conservative with a small as well as a large C, who was a long-standing Eurosceptic and a supporter of Brexit.
Given that my mother will be 101 next Thursday, she wondered if the referendum could be brought forward.
His causes were varied, though. His campaigning on fuel poverty led to the Warm Homes Act in 2000, and animal welfare ran deep too, a vocal opponent to fox hunting and live animal exports, and never far from a photo opportunity involving dogs. The cause he cared most for were his constituents. Constituents he said he needed to meet face to face.
I think that physical contact, although socially distant from the 2nd of July, is quite important. So I'm looking forward to resuming my surgeries in person.
This evening, flowers were laid at the scene and the flags at Downing Street lowered to half-mast. Sir David leaves behind his wife Julia and 5 children. Their worlds tonight changed forever.
I'm joined now by Monsignor Kevin Hill, Vicar General of Our Lady of Lourdes and St Joseph's Catholic Church, where Sir David Amess was a frequent worshipper. Thank you so much for coming on the programme on such a sad day, and I'm very sorry for your loss. You knew him for 18 years. Tell us about him.
Indeed. I've known David all the time. I've been parish priest of Leigh-on-Sea, and I want to say right at the start how utterly appalled and saddened we are by this, and the prayers and the hearts of our people go out to Julia and his children at this time. David was a very familiar face in the area, a frequent worshipper in the local parishes. We've seen him many times in the church, a great supporter of all the charitable causes in the area, and of course a great supporter of pro-life movement issues, a great supporter of our Catholic education system as well. So he's a great loss to us today, and as I say, we mourn his loss, which will be irreplaceable in many respects.
And of course, protection of animals was one of his big causes as well. Where did that come from?
I don't know. I presume it was because he had a great love of nature, a great love of all creation and the things of God.
Yeah.
So that goes hand in hand with his great love of all things that are pro-life.
And it was so important for him, wasn't it, as it is for many MPs, to meet regularly with his constituents. And a lot of the legislation that he tabled in the House of Commons resulted from conversations he had in buildings like the one just around the corner.
Absolutely. We always said that David was such a marvellous constituency man, always available. He spent himself incredibly, and I would say also, so many of us have got first-hand personal experiences of his kindness. He was always there. Nothing was too much trouble for him. Beautiful personal touch, which again is so much appreciated by everyone I know.
How are you going to honour his memory, and how should we honour his memory?
Well, in the first place, we're going to pray for him. We're going to pray for his eternal repose, pray for his family. And then I would say thanksgiving to God for so many graces, so many talents, so many things that he was able to achieve. This is important. I think we're going to mourn him clearly, but I think the next thing we do is to thank God for all that David achieved and that God achieved through David's life.
I mean, he seems such a kind man, and we don't know about the motives of the killing, but can you imagine anyone bearing a grudge against him for any particular
No,
reason?
absolutely not. David was loved by everybody. So it's doubly difficult to understand why such a savage attack would have happened like this.
And how, just briefly and finally, how important do you think it is, as you're not a politician, but you're a priest, how important is it that we maintain the openness of our democratic system after these sort of attacks?
I think we have to be brave and courageous, not be cowed by this, but continue to do what we can to be there with the people and not hide away.
Not hide away. Monsignor Kevin Hale, thank you very much indeed.
Ladies and gents, the death of MP Sir David Amis dies after a horrific stabbing. It's not week in, week out, it's day in, day out, methodically. I'm talking about this.
You can't expect your team to manage work.
Put a ban to knives. Let's put a ban on knives on shop floors. I mean, when's it time to give it up, where police, armed forces go around raiding people's houses for their sharp knives? It's about time even all parents, adults, hand in their kitchen knives. If you've got children, especially, if you live on your own, different story. If you've got mental stability, you haven't got a psycho out of state, you haven't got no problem where you're going to use a knife to jeopardise someone else's life. I can safely say I've never, ever in my life took a knife outside my front door. Would I ever use one? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Only if my life depended on it as a life result. But you don't need a knife. You don't need a knife to go out. If you've been provoked, someone's provoked you. You don't need to go out and, I need a knife to protect myself. So it's different if you had it to protect yourself, someone breaking your home. You don't want they're going to bring in your home. That's different. But you don't need, if everyone had to hand in the knives, then no one would need a knife to protect himself. You don't need a knife. You literally don't need a knife. You don't need one, full stop. You do not need a knife at all. Doesn't matter what sort of trauma you've been through your life, you do not need a knife. But I will say to say, I don't really want to say, but no, it's not even relevant what I'm going to say. I'll speak to the people I need to speak about my trauma I've had throughout my life. But it's a different story. It's a total different kettle of fish. I've never taken one out, and I've never, ever take one out to use it. I've never put one in my bag. I wouldn't even put one in my bag to go out with to feel safe. You don't need a weapon. Anyway, people that want to get involved in politics to support their government, have your voice, your opinion heard. I mean, there's many ideas I come up with, but is my voice or opinion heard? Is it even discussed in Parliament? I said, let's ban knives being sold on shop floors. The only people that should be allowed a knife, if they have to have a knife, butchers, bakers and chefs. Butchers, bakers, chefs have a license. Do fishermen need a sharp knife? No. They can use scissors, can't they? They don't need a sharp knife. Fishermen don't need a sharp knife. They can use scissors. Even that's a sharp object, but then kids can take a sharp scissors out as well. But what's the damage you can do with scissors? Can you do as much damage with scissors as you can with a knife? I don't know. Not quite as long though, are they? So you might not be able to get to the wounds or where they want to get to, the organs. Although you can do just as much damage, you get someone in the wrist or in the neck, in the windpipe. Still dangerous. There's still dangerous instrument. But we've got to put something in action, in plan. If people go, oh, we need a sharp knife to cut meat, this, that. No, you don't, because you can boil meat. How many times have I said it? Had the old Anglo-Saxons, the Romans, when they used to cook things on a big stove, on a big, they used to boil it in a big pot, massive pot, full of water, meat. That's how they used to cook their meat, boil it. Exactly what I did in 2019 Christmas, because our cooking didn't work. I boiled lamb, I boiled chicken, and I boiled beef. Took about 3-4 hours to boil it, but it still cooked right through, and it tasted delicious. How do you keep the flavour? You use stock cubes. Exactly how you keep the flavour in it. Anyway, if you want to shape up Britain, get involved in politics, your party perhaps. But I'm a conservative. I am conservative, and I'm proud to be conservative. Conservative has been for generations of generations. I'm a conservative because of my granddad. My granddad, it was an Edwards, my granddad. He's made in Chelsea. In World War II, he fought under Winston Churchill. He's a Grenadier Guard, same as my cousin Jonathan Edwards. Boris Johnson's got a cousin called Jonathan Edwards. My name's Justin Johnson, that's why I'm called the prodigious, the prominent Professor Johnson. Anyway, you want to get involved in government. As a member, you can play a key role in the party, supporting the work we're doing for government and contributing ideas, policies and future of the party. You'll be invited to join our party conference and to attend local and national events. And if you are, just joining us. Once you've been a member for 3 months, you can also take a key part in party elections. To reduce our environmental impact, we're no longer issuing plastic membership cards. Please be assured that this does not impact your membership. You will never be asked to produce a card to prove your membership. Our members are our most important campaigners. Your support is enabling us to build a brighter future. What your membership gets you, I mean, you pay for something, what is it, 25, 30, 35 a year, whatever it is. You pay monthly, £2 a month. Pay monthly, £2 a month. What your membership gets you helps us win elections. All of your subscription goes towards our campaigns. Gets the latest from inside the party with regular member updates and exclusive membership invites. You want to go out canvassing with the other guys, dropping leaflets through doors, taking part in our campaign groups, like the Conservatives Women's Organising, Young Conservatives or Conservative Friends groups, meet like-minded people and make a difference to our country. You write about your children's future, your children's future. Influencing party policy by giving feedback on policy briefs. Choose candidates and vote in leadership elections, so you can choose the people you want to represent you. You want someone good to represent you, like, you know, you got a good influencer in sport, perhaps. They want to influence knife crime throughout the community. They've got a big following through athleticism. Why would you want that person in charge or trying to decriminalise criminology throughout the youth of today? Choose candidates and vote in leadership elections, so you can choose the people you want to represent you. Come to party conference and spring forum. Join our MPs, councillors and activists at the biggest events of the Conservative calendar. When I was a professional boxer, I was an activist for the Conservative. I was flying the flag for our government. I was flying the flag for myself. The bravery, the courageousness, showing disabled people, no matter what you're going through in life, never to give up. Connect with local Conservatives. As a member, you become part of the local association. Support local campaigns and attend social events with members just like you. Stand for election. As a member, you have the opportunity to stand for election as a Conservative. So if you decide that you want to take part in our democracy, you can. Get involved with your party politics. Let me tell you, I'm not blowing my own trumpet here. You know, when I was 18, I had a fractured skull. Got beaten out by 15 bloke. My nose taken off my face, 2 fractured eye sockets. I had a bottle smashed in my mouth while I was on the floor by 15 men. 3 years later, doctor said I can't walk. We won't have to walk ever again. 2-3 years later, I got into Thai boxing. I thought, I'm not standing on eggshells, and I need to get out of that front door. I don't want to be scared of my demons. I want to fight my demons and get through life. It's exactly what I did. I turned to boxing about 6 years later after doing Thai boxing. Turned to boxing, become a professional 5 years after that. 30 years old, I was a professional boxer. One of the bravest professional boxers to ever walk this planet. You see boxers give up for a black eye nowadays. Or bleeding nose. I went in the deep end like a war veteran, not to give up. And I was not only that, I do need to, you know, sing my praises because no one else will. I haven't been given a bravery award. I haven't been given a courageous award. I haven't been given an award that I put all my family's life at risk because they're supporting me, watching their beloved son could end up with, like Michael Watson did, with severe further brain damage, stuck in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Lucky I wasn't after that kicking. I was lucky that I got through professional boxing alive. Lucky I got through my whole Thai boxing career, come out of it alive. With a lot of cognitive skills. I can emphasise my habilitations across the nation, trying to get people to shape up England as well, to not shy away from drama. There's alcoholics in town centres. What do you think I'd do? Do you think I'd just let them sit there drinking alcohol in front of kids and mums and young fathers? Do you think I let them sit there when the police just walk past them? I don't let them sit there. I'll go over to a group of 3 or 4 of them. I say, why don't you pack your bags and move on? Go drink in your own garden. Why you got to drink in the town centre? What do you think that does to the youth of today? The youth of today might follow suit in years to come, thinking that's the right way. They might think that's the righteousness. All this going to party with our friends in the town centre, it's not the way of life, is it? It's not the way of life. When I say make that change, people don't make that change. I make that change for you. We need to make that change. We need to get rid of the town rats. It makes a town look horrific and children to follow. That's why children become vulnerable to narcotic abuse, alcoholism, because there's no one doing nothing about it. It gets into our young children's head young. When they get into university, they're getting bullied, subject to narcotic abuse, narcotic production. People that go around selling it to the youth of today. They hang outside university in their cars trying to sell it to the kids. I've seen it firsthand. I was in Hertfordshire University. Some black guy come over in his car, pulled up in a BM. You want some Class B's, Class A's? I was like, what are you talking about? What's that? What's Class B or Class A? That's to make your car, isn't it? I went. But that's what's happening to the youth of today. They're getting bullied. They get subjected to these narcotics. Anyway, let's talk about the deprivation of the world. Haiti, US Christian missionaries kidnapped in Port-au-Prince reports. A group of US missionaries and their family members, including children, are reported to have been kidnapped by an armed gang near Haiti's Port-au-Prince. At least 15 people were taken off a bus and visiting an orphanage. Haitian security sources have told the news media. For details unknown, but US officials said they were aware of the reports. Haiti has one of the highest rates of kidnapping in the world, as powerful gangs exploit the lawless situation to make money from ransom payments. Since killing President Jovenel Moïse in July, rival factions have been trying to gain control, and lack of security has intensified the daily struggle to survive of many Haitians. People like Venezuela, wasn't it? Hugo Chavez, they killed him in 2017. He's trying to stop drug trafficking in Cuba. Christian missionaries were seized shortly after leaving the town of Crux des Boquets and continued to held by the gang, according to a security source quoted by the AFP news agency. Haitian Justice Ministry and the National Police have not commented. The US government is yet to provide any information on the incident, but the US State Department of the AFP, it has been seen in the reports, and the safety of American citizens abroad was one of the highest priorities. Christian Aid Ministries, a US-based organisation, sent a voice message to religion groups of Haiti as a special player alert. The Associated Press news agency reported the message said the group was working with the US Embassy in Haiti to see what could be done to help the abducted people. Christian Aid Ministry supports Haitians largest through donations and supplies shelter, food and clothing to the children, and helps to fund their education. Armed gangs have controlled the poorest districts of the Haitian capital for years. Recently, they have extended their hold to other parts of Haiti's capital city, Port-au-Prince, and its outlying areas. More than 6,000 kidnaps were recorded in the first 3 quarters of 2021 compared to 231 over the same period last year, according to the local civil society group Violence in Haiti. The poorest country in the Americas has spiraled both since the assassination of President Moïse and the earthquake of the following month, which killed more than 2,000 people, according to the New York Times. Many in Haiti has been calling for the US to send troops into their country, a request the Biden administration is reluctant to accept. Could be a lot of going off over there. Matt Hancock. Do you feel sorry for Matt Hancock? Matt Hancock's United Nations role has been withdrawn. He's trying to get back into politics. He was a big name in politics in the media before, and now he's getting taken out. Former Health Secretary Matt Hancock has had a job offer from United Nations withdrawn. Mr. Hancock announced this week that he had been given a role helping Africa's economy recover from COVID. UN said he would bring valuable experience, but Mr. Hancock now says a rule has come to light that prevents him from taking the job while an MP. Leading figures across Africa and UK opposition parties have criticised the UN's choice of the MPs for this role. It's a bit unfair, isn't it? Why are they making an example of Matt Hancock? Because, he led astray. It's just, we could say that's not professionalism, but it's just human cycle. It's not a human error. It's human cycle. Human cycle. If he's not getting attention from his wife, he's going to go elsewhere. So we don't know the ins and outs. Why are people pointing fingers at Matt Hancock? I do not know. And why was they filming him as well? I don't know. And why would they broadcast it all over the media if he's a health professional looking after other people? Why are they going to try and put Brandon down because he had a bad relationship? He wanted to go elsewhere. Big deal. On Tuesday, the former health secretary tweeted a copy of the letter from the UN Under Secretary General Vera Zongwi, offering him the unpaid role. He was congratulated by former cabinet colleagues, including Foreign Secretary Liz Truss, Housing Secretary Michael Gove, and Culture Secretary Nadine Dorries. I mean, at this current climate, you don't know if he can be alive the next day or not. So if he's joining his life, the best part of his life, because he might not be alive tomorrow, who are we to judge? Who are we to judge? And that is God's honest truth. That's me not being on the side of the fence because of Matt Hancock. That's me being on the side of the fence because of anyone. You heard me sticking up for Labour MP the other day. Got criticised for something. I can't remember what it was. It's about 2 days ago I was talking about it. I can't quite frankly remember what it's about now. But she got brandished something in the media. I can't remember quite. Vaguely remember the conversation about Labour MP. I stuck up for her. The West Suffolk MP faced a backlash from critics on social media who pointed to the fact that a highly critical report from MPs on the UK government's handling of the pandemic has been released on the same day. I mean, again, that's another thing that I brought up. The critical report of MPs' government handling the pandemic. Not just being a conservative, but look at the global impact it's had. Not just in England, it had the same impact in every other country. So whichever, what way, anyway, where way, in way, out way, you went with COVID, it was life. There's nothing you can do about it. If you shut the borders, you still need food, you still need clothes, you still need to use your mobile phone. That, in theory, and that in thought, COVID's going to get here one way or another anyway. I've had this discussion time and time again. Mr. Hancock's new role came from 4 months after he resigned from his cabinet post for breaking social distancing guidelines by kissing a colleague. He had been planning to continue as a Conservative MP while working as UN Special Representative on Financial Innovation and Climate Change for the United Nations Economic Commissions for Africa. The UN has now told him the appointment is not being taken forward. Mr. Hancock said he had been honoured to be approached by the UN, but he later wrote to explain that UN rule has subsequently come to light. He added, "Since I'm committed to continuing to serve as an MP for the West Suffolk, this means I cannot take up the position. I look forward to supporting the UN ECA in their mission in whatever way I can in my parliamentary role." The analysis by Mark Lobel, BBC News correspondent. This is undoubtedly an embarrassment for a former health secretary who was looking to resuscitate his political career. The first step in doing so has appeared to come with the announcement about the unpaid role. It was not a UK government one, but there was a growing support from many senior former cabinet colleagues. Mr. Hancock says a technical rule has now come to light which prevents him from taking a job as he is a sitting MP. But the appointment attracted anger too, coming on the day that groups of MPs have been highly critical of the government's handling of the pandemic and some of the international community questioned the MP's expertise, past mistakes, and his suitability for such a challenging role. It appears that added to pressure on the UN to withdraw the innovation, and 3 days later, a spokesman confirmed it has not been taken forward. UN sources say the appointment should never have been made in the first place. Gordon Brown is a sitting MP when he took a similar role, but the former PM had already announced he was standing down from Parliament, something the MP from West Suffolk says he has no intention of doing. In a letter to Mr Hancock offering him a job, Ms Songwe said his success in handling UK's pandemic response was a testament to the strengths he would bring to the role. In his reply, the MP said, as we recover from the pandemic, so we must take this moment to ensure Africa can prosper. The withdrawal of the offer was welcomed by the campaign Global Justice. The group's director, Nick Dearden, said if Matt Hancock wants to help African countries recover from the pandemic, he would lobby the Prime Minister to back a patent waiver of COVID-19 vaccines. If he'd done that when he was in government, tens of millions of more people could already have been vaccinated. Last thing that Africa continent needs is a failed British politician. This isn't the 19th century. Why is it a failed politician? Well, because he kissed another woman. Does that make him a failed politician? Really? I know it's crazy. Some of the things they come out with, it boggles me. Castbox and my people on YouTube, I just want to say you can stay here for a little bit longer. I just got to say goodbye to everyone on my podcast. Thank you all for listening on podcasts. I really appreciate it. It is the prodigious, the prominent Professor Johnson. Have a wonderful Sunday. Yeah, we're still here, guys. I'm just going to finish up the COP26. China's 11. Jinping unlikely to attend the UK PM, as told. Wonder why China's not going to come to the COP. It's a bit obvious why, because their carbon emissions in the city, in all the cities in China, absolutely horrific. Guangzhou is one of the world's worst polluted places in the world. UK Prime Minister has been warned by officials that China's President Jinping is unlikely to attend the COP26 climate summit in November. The UK government's sources confirmed a report in the Times that Mr Johnson had been advised the Chinese leader was not expected to come. However, Chinese officials reportedly have not entirely ruled out a change of plans. COP26 takes place in Glasgow from October the 31st to November the 12th. Leaders from around the world will meet to discuss how to minimise global temperature rises caused by human activity. President's 11 attendance at COP26 has long been in doubt. It is the thought that has not left China since early 2020. Government sources said Chinese officials had not been definitive about the president's travel plans, and they accepted it was possible it could change his mind and come to the last minute to surprise the summit. They want to see as green leaders, so I wouldn't rule it out. One rival source said the diplomats said China often announced President's 11 travel plans at least last minute. One said, "We never give up hope, and we are never continuing to make case for his personal attendance." In September, Chinese officials told the Italian diplomats that President 11 did not plan to attend a meeting of the G20 leaders in Rome on October 30th, which immediately precedes the COP26 summit. The city China's COVID regulations as the reason. Western diplomats said there were genuine concerns among Chinese officials at being able to protect Mr. 11 from the COVID outside China. On 19th of September, the UK COP president, Hancock Sharma, told the BBC Andrew Marr show there was uncertainty about President 11 attendance. The issue of whether President 11 Jinping is going to come has not been confirmed. On Friday, Australian Minister Scott Morrison confirmed he would attend the conference. He drew criticism for suggesting last month that he might skip the meeting. Australia, a large producer of coal and gas, is ranked purely for its climate policies and emissions reductions. One report in the last for climate action out of 193 union members of that nation. The country is under pressure to commit to stronger and faster change. China may not be only absentee, but analysts by the reality check. President 11 might not be the only world leader who skips the summit. No major leader aside from Pope Francis, who said he had hoped to go, but recently underwent colon surgery, has had definitely won't be attending the COP26 summit in November. But some have expressed doubts about attending, including leaders from some of the world's biggest carbon emitters. Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Wednesday that he may not attend due to the pandemic situation. Russia has set a goal reducing greenhouse gas emissions to 70-75% of 1990 levels by 2030. President Jair Bolsonaro of Brazil and President Narendra Modi of India are yet to confirm their attendance after missing the last summit. At last COP meeting in 2019, the heads of the world's top 5 emitters, China, India, Japan, US and Russia, also failed to attend. We're going to watch the Queen. We're going to listen to the Queen appear to suggest she was irritated by leaders' slow response to the climate crisis. It's a big thing to get, that's why she's a bit upset that they're not attending. Oh, you're not even going to hear it. It's not even going to hear it, ladies and gents. But anyway, I just want to say to everyone, please subscribe to Proclamation News and Gatherence. We're on quite mainly, most of the time, daily. Sometimes twice a day. So it's beneficial that you subscribe to Proclamation News and Gatherence on Castbox. We're on YouTube, and I'm on Anchor, which is podcast. So make sure you subscribe, ladies and gents. Thank you ever so much for coming in, listening daily. I want to do question time and give away like free paintings and whatnot. Who would like to get involved in our game? Would you like to get involved in our free giveaway? Please let me know. Anyway, everyone, take care. God bless and one love. Speak soon.